Yo, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? Ganesh here, and today, welcome back to the third part of how to build your own fortress. Today, we're gonna be featuring a dead idea that nobody is using almost anymore for almost 4 months now, ever since the big nerf of attack mission and the traps happened. Yeah, before that, the traps were so powerful that you could actually kill the whole enemy team within the first 2 or 3 floors using only paper bombs and maybe needles or something like that. But then, yeah, that was just so insane that I guess that's why the nerf had to happen. Today we're gonna be using Deidara to make this idea work again. Alright guys, so before we start talking about the fortress, I just want to talk a little bit about Deidara, and the reason is because he's gonna be the main character of this fortress, and the C4 is going to be the main point of this fortress. So the C4 has the crazy effect of damage over time. The huge effect is 200% of the full HP. Of course, you cannot go in minus, so you always stop at the 1 HP. And basically, you're going to be losing 10% of your full HP over 20 times. And in case you get healed in the process, you always lose that HP until the effect is gone after almost 40 seconds. So, yeah, the effect is so insane right now, and it's so powerful. There's only like 3 ways to get around it, and one of them is like the best way is to use Shizumi with her ultimate, which only 10,000 people got the ultimates from the SAM number 8. Some people did not even try to get it because they thought her ultimate is gonna be useless. And even when I told you guys to try your best to get at least 1 copy, because for sure it's gonna be useful at some point in the game. And now it is. Now it's the actual time for that. Yeah, her ultimate is basically the best way to go over around this damage over time effect. And the second way is to use an iframe attack or an ultimate, because all ultimates have an iframe to get away from the explosion, which means that you're not gonna get on the damage over time effect in the first place. And then there's the third way, which is gonna waste a lot of time, is that you can bring a healer, kill Deidara, and wait in your place until you get healed fully after the damage over time effect is gone, which is gonna probably take you from 60 to 80 seconds, which basically leads you to sometimes time up in the fortress that is not even needed, like is not going for the time up effect on you. So yeah, it's really bad if you don't have Shizumi or you don't have a way to get away from the C4 ultimates. So yeah, we're using the C4 ultimate here on Deidara, and we are using also 2 other jutsus, the bursting flame arrays and the clay phoenix. So these 2 are short target. They only hit the enemy if the enemy is right next to Deidara. So some people say do not use any jutsus when you're using the C4, because there's a chance Deidara is not going to use his ultimate the first thing when the enemy summons him. So I would say it all depends on the positioning of Deidara. It all depends also on the target of your jutsus. So in case you have something that is long target and the enemy is in that target of that jutsu, he's most likely going to be using the jutsu before he uses the ultimates, which is bad because the enemy can sometimes like teleport and paralyze the enemy, paralyze the Deidara before he uses ultimate and kill him before Deidara even gets to use his ultimate. So only use jutsus that you are sure that Deidara is not gonna use before the usage of the C4, because you always want the C4 to be the first effect to come out of Deidara as soon as he gets summoned. So yeah, there's that. Now we're gonna go back to the fortress, and before we go there, yeah, I just want to show you the defense log. As you can see, I have around 80%, sometimes 90% win rate with this fortress. And there's even people that join the fortress, like enter the fortress a couple of times. Sometimes people win and lose, like they win once and they lose the other time. So it's like people are not used to this idea anymore, because the fortress is no longer you know, the hot topic anymore, because nobody uses that idea anymore. So people are not familiar with this idea almost anymore. So as you can see, some people like won once and then lost the next time or like lost once and won the next time, but they lost like a lot of times before that. So it's really good in my opinion. And even with Shizune, like this fortress, even with Shizune, you may have a hard time going over. Alright, coming back to the fortress, we have the first floor here, which is the most important floor. You need to make sure that every detail here is perfect. So we have Deidara hiding here behind a wall, and we have 3 other walls that are basically trap walls to make sure that he does not get any contact with the enemy until he uses his C4. So as I mentioned, I have 2 other jutsus on him, and I don't want him to think that there is a possibility that he could like move a little bit to the front to use one of his jutsus, and somehow he would get killed that way. So I want him to always use his ultimate as soon as he gets summoned by the enemy, and this is how you do it. Like, there's no way to stop him if he is in this position. There's no way to kill him or stop him before he uses his C4. So there's that. Then one more thing that I want to say before we continue talking about the floor. Never add an installation in this part of the fortress. Never add an installation in any floor where Deidara is, because the enemy can always push one of his teammates into the room where Deidara is, and that bot or bot teammate has always the like in his programming is that he always has to destroy the installation before doing anything else in the game. So he's basically gonna take the baits, and Deidara is gonna get summoned, use his ultimate. The C4 is gonna be wasted on only one bot teammate, while the main character and his other teammates are just safe behind the door, and they basically the enemy just basically well, sacrifice one of his teammates. The others are just basically safe. So never add an installation in this floor or any floor where Deidara is in that floor. Okay, next up we have the seals. So basically we have a seal tag here, and seal tag here. So these are mainly just so when the enemy summons Deidara, they will get sealed and they will not be able to use any of their jutsus or the ultimate to escape the effect of Deidara's ultimate. So there is ways to actually get over these. I'm gonna tell you right here. So you don't have to, like, this is just for you if you're watching this video. So there is a way to get away from these seals, which is to not go all the way, just summon them and wait until they're gone. And then you can just summon Deidara here. And then as soon as right before the explosion happens, you can just use your ultimate to stay away from the damage over time effect. However, yeah, your bot enemies will not be able to, bot teammates will not be able to actually escape that. So you can save your main character from the effect. However, your bot teammates are just gonna get the effect anyway. Unless you have a Shizune that somehow managed to use her ultimate before the effect ever happens. And that's why we have other sealing traps here. And yeah, the whole point of that, in case, like, let's have a Shizune here, because I've seen some people do that, like they rush towards the sealing tag, so Shizune would notice that the teammate is on the seal effect, and she would like use her ultimate right away. So as you can see here, this is a way to get Shizune to use her ultimate as soon as like you start the game. So that's why we yeah, that's why we have that here, because normally people don't do that run at the beginning like I did. Like normally people don't run back to get Shizune back, but normally they just take her with them. And in case this happens and the seal happens, Shizune would get sealed as well, and she will not be able to use her ultimate unless she gets under the 30% HP, sorry, the 40% HP. So she always uses her ultimate when she gets to under the 40% HP. as you can see here. So that's why Shizune is like the best way to counter this fortress. But again, we have the seals to make sure that we can waste some time even with Shizune being in play. So there's that. Yeah, basically this is the first part of the fortress, the floor. This is the most important floor. So if in case an enemy came into this part of the fortress, 100% sure his teammates are gonna die unless he have a healer or a Shizune, which is basically a better healer right now. Alright, so let's say the effect is done. The enemy is around 1 HP, and they would like to continue playing the fortress. So what is gonna await them is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 floors full of paper bombs that would do even more damage. So basically, again, if the enemy team does not have a healer or a Shizune in their team, well, basically they're fucked, because they're gonna die from any of these paper bombs or bear traps. So unless, of course, the main player found a way, like the one that I mentioned here, to save himself, he's gonna be left alone basically from his team, and he's gonna have to continue with the fortress on his own. So this is basically the fortress. This is how the rest of the floors look like. You can, of course, pause the video to copy these parts, and then we come to this place or this floor, which is full of tornado traps. And the main purpose of these tornado traps is to push the enemies into either this floor right here or the floor right here, which we have a lot of good characters here. So we have mostly just attack type characters like Naruto with his Shadow Clone Jutsu that basically can kill any enemy in the any character in the game right now, except for yellow types maybe. And then there's Sasuke with his crazy attacks as well. He does a lot of damage, and the paralyze effect as well is crazy. Then he also has an iframe effect in his black jewelry, which sometimes saves them from ultimates. So some people hate the fact that there is two characters in the same floor, and they think it's a waste because the enemy can always find a way to summon them both and use only one ultimate on both of them. But I can tell you right now, it's not the case here, because both of them are powerful characters, and when the enemy enters the room, basically they always either like enter from a tornado trap, which most likely manages to make one of the characters do some hits before they actually get back up on their feet and use their ultimates. So they always use their ultimate because they want to escape from the crazy hits that Sasuke and Naruto are doing to them. So yeah, they use their ultimate on one of them, and by the time they are about to get out of that floor, they realize there's still yet another shinobi in there that they have to attack. So yeah, I don't think it's easy to kill both of them in this fortress or this floor. And yeah, placing both of them actually here made me get a lot of wins. So people who survive the C4 mostly die here. This is the second stop where people die. And in case you just don't want to have two characters in the same floor, you can move one of them into this one, into this floor. So it really doesn't matter, because by the time the enemies are like, if the enemies got affected with the C4, they're most likely going to die in the first two floors anyway. So these are just like an overkill. The other three are just like an overkill. You can just, well, you can just remove the traps from here and add, like, move one of these shinobis into this floor. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend that, because I like the way I have my fortress right now. And most of the time, Naruto or Sasuke gets the kill after the main character survives the Deidara C4. Then the other floor here, which has Sasuke. I originally had Itachi here with his new cat, which actually wasn't really that great. I would say Itachi most of the time died easily, so I think it was the problem of the placing of the traps here. But I think Sasuke version 3 does better job in this part. Like, he got me more kills than Itachi did when he was here. So I moved Itachi, by the way, here because I wanted to try him in the last floor. And Yeah, I would just want to say that Itachi is, even though he sometimes gets you the win with his Mangaku Sharingan, because I think a lot of people are not familiar with how big the range for the Mangaku Sharingan is. He's still kind of useless when the enemy finally uses their ultimate, because he always dies unless you have the Yata mirror and somehow you escape out of the ultimate, which almost never happens because the 3 seconds are basically too much in my opinion. So I would say that you should not probably use Itachi here unless you don't have any other options. And Tobirama is not really that great in my opinion. So yeah, you can always choose other iframers for the last room if you want. So I would actually change Tobirama into Gara, because this fortress, by the way, has the time up effect, and I forgot to tell you that. So most people that don't have Shizune, they end up under the damage over time effect, and they have only a healer like Tsunade for example, and they have to wait here for 60 to 80 seconds until the effect is gone and they are fully healed, because when they try to continue here they realize that there's paper bombs. They have to wait here, so basically they just wait here until the effect is gone and the healing effect goes on to get them to a better place with their HP. So yeah, they just basically wait until that happens, and then they have to go through the fortress. And by the time they get to this part of the fortress, they always have only like 120 seconds left, which is half the time. So basically you waste half of the time in the first half of the fortress, which is so OP to be honest. And then most of the time people just don't kill, don't have the time to actually like clear the rest of the fortress, so they just enter the last room without without finishing the whole fortress. And yeah, that's when Itachi sometimes is useful, because you can like teleport towards the enemy and use the Mangekyou Sharingan to paralyze them and put the damage over time effect. Yeah, by the way, Itachi has damage over time effect as well, which is medium, and it takes 50% HP of the full HP of the enemy, and that's probably the only time when Itachi is actually very good. But anyway, I think Tobirama is very useless in the last room. Like, I just realized that watching all the replays. So you can just remove Tobirama, and you can add someone else, like maybe Gara or someone else that can actually do damage from far away, like Timari or maybe Sarada. So I don't use Sarada here, by the way, because I don't think Sarada is that great anymore with all the Itachis running around with their Mangekyou Sharingan. It just makes Sarada so useless against these Mangekyou Sharingans. So yeah, this is the fortress, guys. If you're gonna use it, let me know in the comment section below how it worked for you. I believe it's gonna be perfect for new players. So if you are a new player and have Deidara's ultimate, just use this. Just use this fortress, and I'll guarantee you that you're gonna win 100% of the time, or maybe 99% of the time, because some people get lucky and get some healing jutsus at the beginning of the game. But other than that, I don't think anyone who just started the game has a Shizune, and even healers are hard to get in the beginning of the game. So yeah, as long as you have a Deidara and you have this setup with traps right after Deidara's floor, then you're most likely going to end up killing the whole team in the first 2 or 3 floors. Alright guys, so this was the end of this video, or at least the part where I stopped talking, and now you're gonna be watching some replays or rewinds of people that actually entered my fortress and either lost or won. So I want to show you every variant of every team that actually entered my fortress, and most of the time it's actually teams that are led by Itachi, because Itachi right now is the most powerful character to main in attack mission. So most of the clips are gonna be Itachi with some different subs. So I would say the only players that were able to 3-star my fortress so far are people that entered the fortress with 2 healers, and one of them is Shizune. So I would tell you that this fortress is so OP and so amazing that sometimes people, even the most or the best players, cannot 3-star yet. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the video, guys, and before you go, make sure to click like if you like this video and subscribe for more content coming up. And if you have any questions, or if you have any opinion of how to make this fortress even better, or if you have any suggestions for the next parts where I'm going to be talking about different other fortresses, just leave them in the comment section below, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be making enough time, or I'm going to have enough time to read every single one of these comments. So yeah, thank you all for watching, and enjoy the rest of the video, guys. I'll see you on the next one. Alright guys, so there's one thing that I've just realized and noticed while watching these replays, which is that sometimes Shizune does not use her ultimate even though she is under the 40% HP. And the reason is because under the 40% HP she needs a target to attack, and if there is a target in the floor where she is, she will use her ultimate. If there isn't a target or something to attack, she's not going to use her ultimate. So basically, if she's under the 40% HP and she doesn't have a target to attack, and none of your teammates have a condition on them, she's not going to use her ultimate. So you want to make your Deidara as weak as possible to die easier and faster, and then she will not have to use her ultimate, and the enemy will just be stuck there in the first floor for as much long time as possible, and that will waste them a lot of time.
Pieces of my mind. I pretend that we are okay, like nothing's ever broken. And I pretend that we are dancing, like the nights are never ending.
Tsuku ka 息つくか。
無限の幻惑に落ちるがいい。そこか。無限の幻惑に落ちるがいい。そこだ。無限の幻惑に落ちるがいい。
一息つくか。 次こそ